All right, it's Garlic Fries and Baseball, guys. 2 episodes a week. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss an episode. And we appreciate you coming to get all of your Giants fan news, knowledge, perspective, information from us every single week. Okay, next up, it's been a Padre party. We have used the San Diego Padres as all the things the Giants aren't so far this year. Spending big money, exciting players, filled up stands that are really, really loud. I've heard them the most as the team saying, hey, why can't the Giants do this? And then all of a sudden, for the first time all year, the Padres really got some news that made them grab their hat into their hand. 80-game suspension for Fernando Tatis Jr. And how does this affect the division? How does it affect what they may or may not do with Juan Soto? I'll tell you one thing that's the first thing that comes to my mind, and there's nothing that'll happen about this anytime soon, but this is the flip side to what we always yell about in football. In the NFL, player contracts are not guaranteed enough. They're not fair, especially with how physical that sport is. And so the guarantees that happen in baseball and basketball, I think by and large, we're like, okay, that's usually a good thing. But what about in this case? PEDs do not erase anything with regard to a contract. So now you're sitting here with a guy who has shown his immaturity, motorcycle accidents, plural, PED popped. Now you have no idea if he's actually as good as we've known him to be, or if this was a concoction of the PEDs, and you're on the hook for 13 years and $335 million to Fernando Tatis.
Yeah, it's such a great point. I'll get to the image thing with the kids and whatnot in a second, because I know you have young kids. I coach a lot, and so this one kind of hurts me.
Young kids and a dog, as you can hear.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. First up, 6-year arbitration thing. So you go 3 years where you're under team control, then 3 more years of arbitration. I've been saying this. That is 2 years longer than any other sport. Zion Williamson's played 3 years. He's eligible for this huge max contract, even though he's barely played, you know what I mean? But you feel like you got to show a little something before you can get a $250 million deal. Because of the 6 years of arbitration and Super Twos and the way that they've structured all these salaries, it feels like to me that the owners have kind of dug themselves in here, and the best business model is to buy out those arbitration years. But to do so, you better tack on 6 or 7 extra years after that. So you get Ronald Acuna or Fernando Tatis Jr. getting 10, 11, 12-year deals when they've played like 95 games. And I'm not saying that like these guys aren't great talents. They're great talents. Josh Hamilton had one of the greatest years we've all ever seen. And then, boom, he nosedived again. This happens all the time in baseball. Yastrzemski 2 years ago, I would have gave him a 5, 6, 7-year deal. Now I'm saying, thank God we couldn't, and we didn't give him a deal like that. You got to let these things play themselves out. So I'm with you on this. Here's the other part. Just like from a marketing standpoint, I'm so disappointed in the guy because, dude, he's the one guy you can point to that kids are like, I like him. He makes baseball fun. And I'm not some holier than thou, steroids are awful. I'm a Bonds fan. So it'd be hypocritical for me to be like ripping Fernando Tatis Jr. But at the end of the day, it's a horrible look.
No, it's
just
terrible.
A horrible look for the face of baseball.
I'm really glad you brought that up because every single baseball fan that I've ever known is a complete hypocrite when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Right? They're complete hypocrite.
I admit it.
Right? Dodger fans would throw syringes at Barry Bonds and then cheer Manny Ramirez. And we do it too. A Giants fan right now going, this taints his legacy. Bonds should be in the Hall. Like, what are you doing? Like I don't want to hear the word legacy. The guy's not even 25 years old yet.
Exactly.
Can we just calm it down? Because if this had happened in football, we'd be like, see you next month. Bummer that you're suspended. No big deal. Right? So I'm with you. I'm not going to be holier than thou on this. But to say that this isn't a multi-layered problem for the San Diego Padres, who have built their entire future around this guy, and now you're probably looking at a scenario where Juan Soto's deal is up in 2 years. you're probably not the favorite to re-sign him because of the Tatis deal. And now, what are you going to get? What are you going to get out of that going forward? He has been constantly hurt. Are the steroids what he was using to try to get back from injury?
Yeah, no clue.
We're never going to know that, but we clearly have a player who's very talented, but now oft injured and immature. And so, like the Padres are going to say right now, and they're right, like, we're still a good team. We still have enough to win right now. But this is a massive blow to their entire framework.
Yeah.
Everything they've spent all this time building so that they were ready to pounce when Machado came, ready to pounce when Soto became available, was all based, as we've talked so much, all based on the man who was the homegrown core. And now that's filled with nothing but question marks.
I mean, think about their timeline. We talk so much about the Giants timeline. The old guys, the young guys, when is the timeline? Their pitching is now. Like, look at their pitching, Musgrove and Snell, and like all their guys are for right now. They just made the trade for Hader. Hader ain't getting better. You know what I mean? Like, he's depreciating at this point. So I look at Machado, he's getting up there in age. And this is also a guy, Soto, you talked about some of the off-field immaturities. Infield, okay? The final series of the year last year, Manny Machado is ready to choke him out in the dugout for blowing through a stop sign and getting hosed at home plate. So he's not a perfect player on the field. He made a zillion errors last year at shortstop. I thought maybe he's a right fielder. I don't know. But like, from a Major League Baseball standpoint, as a fan of the game and as a fan of this guy, and I'm not trying to be holier than thou, this is a gut punch for the game. This is a big black eye. And then, like, as a Giants fan, you're sitting here and you're going, this is a cautionary tale to be careful to pay. Not everyone's Buster, where you buy out their years and he's a model citizen. You know, like, sometimes things are out of your control. We are celebrating 2012. Melky Cabrera would have had a $250 million deal on the table had he not got popped for steroids.
Well, it's a cautionary tale, but it's also, so now this is how it affects the Giants. In a way, it might also be a bummer because it is very much quickly becoming my opinion that this group, when it comes to the idea of spending big on a big name, they are, this is going to sound obvious, they're a wee bit too conservative. We know that already, but here's my point. I think they are so focused on not making that mistake that I don't know, like, what they're waiting
paralysis
for
by
is
analysis.
Perfect thing. They need someone to be 22 or 23, and he needs to be squeaky clean, and he needs to be. It's just like, if you wait for this, it's never ever going to exist. So does the Giants brass use this to say, see, that's why we're not doing it? The Padres, you've been lauding them all year, and what have they actually gotten out of it? They've got an 80-game PED suspension, and they're barely hanging on to a playoff spot by their fingernails.
Well, I guess the only counter to that would be, on a business side, it does feel like they're doing as good as they've ever done in terms of attendance and just the overall aura of the team. You could say, I know you were down in that area. The Chargers leaving obviously helps that, but it does feel like that entire region is now supporting that team, unlike anything I've ever seen.
No doubt.
But this is a blow to that. Like, this was the centerpiece. Dude, I'm playing the video game. I know your kids play video games. I'm playing the video game. He's the face of the video game. Totally. Like, the face. When I go to junior Giants practice, I go, guys, who are your favorite players? Fernando Tatis was the name 6 kids brought up. Like, I go, he hasn't played in like a year, and they're like, that's my favorite player.
No, there's no doubt that this has been the biggest PED Major League Baseball slap in the face to all of us that I can remember in
A-Rod.
At least 12,
a decade. 13 years.
At least a decade.
It may be more. I don't even remember when that suspension was, but like, and here's the thing too. It just, for that guy to do that, whether he's doing it to get healthy, get right, whatever, it just, God, it's such a bad look because I kept propping him up like, this is what I want my Major League Baseball player to be. He wants the endorsements. He wants the limelight. He wants to have fun. He's embracing the Dodger rivalry. And then you got this.
Yeah. Oh. One last thing on this, by the way, gentle reminder to every single baseball player who has ever played or is playing or ever will. When this happens, just apologize. I just don't get it. Yeah. How do you not look at the history of this?
So true.
You're coming out here with ringworm. I mean, look at the arc of what's happened with these players. If you want to Ryan Braun this thing and make up stories all over the place, we're never going to hear from you again. You're never, if you do have the numbers to do it, if we don't like you, we're never going to put you in the hall. But if you just come out, especially a guy who's been hurt for a year and a half, if you just come out and say, I can't stand missing the game, play the Klay Thompson card. It's killing me. It's everything I love in this world. And I want to play baseball and I want to get back so badly. I made this mistake. Do you know how quickly the public would have forgiven you? They did it to Andy Pettit, and he didn't even have a good reason. He's just like, just kind of had a weak moment. Yeah. And everyone's like, okay, all right, let's put him in. Like, just apologize and have some human vulnerability, and everybody will say it's okay.
It's so true. It's such a great point. And like, if he would have just phrased it that way, because I don't even know what the motivation is. Obviously, it's to be good. That's number one. But also, if it is to come back to be healthy, we would understand that. It doesn't make it right, but we would understand that we'd be able to move forward. When you lie and you come up with this ringworm, it's like, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah. It's completely ridiculous.